Broker Bulletin acknowledges the traditional custodians of all the lands across the country on which we record our podcast and pays its respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome to the Broker Bulletin podcast, where better begins. Join us as we chat with brokers about what's working for them, what drives them, and the real challenges and wins that matter most right now.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a very special episode of Broker Bulletin. I'm Suzi Trajanovski, National Director of Growth for LMG, and I'm also the President of the Leading Ladies community. In this special International Women's Day episode of Broker Bulletin, we sit down with Evelyn Clark of EverLend to explore how she's taken action to drive real change, both within the broker industry and beyond. From building a successful business to creating meaningful impact in the local community and internationally, Evelyn shares her journey, challenges, and the steps she's taken to accelerate action. And this episode is proudly brought to you by Westpac, who is proudly 8th year running sponsor of our Leading Ladies community. Congratulations, Evelyn, on a fantastic International Women's Day charity event that you ran last Friday in Melbourne. We'd really love to hear more about that as well. The origins of EverLend and the decision to put on an International Women's Day event. Tell us a bit about your journey. What led you to start EverLend?
Thanks so much for having me, Suzi. Really happy and privileged to be here today and sharing with you all. So hopefully listeners can take something meaningful away from today's episode. But I guess my journey started in the financial industry coming out of uni, or I was even still studying at uni at the time. Was given an opportunity to work as a CSM admin role for another broker who had recently started her own business. And I really just learnt the ropes from there and grew to a position where I wanted to become a broker myself, and didn't start EverLend initially, or certainly didn't think that I would start EverLend initially from that initial role. I really thought that I would just be a broker in a business for a long time. One thing that I was always really passionate about was education and being able to get more information and more education out to people from a local community perspective, or even around Australia as much as I possibly could. So I guess maybe it all sort of started there when I realized that there was a bit of a financial knowledge gap in the financial industry between what we knew as brokers and what consumers knew. And I really saw that as my opportunity to be able to educate people. So that's what sort of formed EverLend. And then from there, in terms of the International Women's Day initiatives, again, I guess that really just came from my desire to want to share and be able to, I guess, show people that if I could do something meaningful, then everyone else has the opportunity to do so as well, if that's what they wanted to do. So International Women's Day as a charity event did not start out as a charity event. I held my first International Women's Day event just before launching EverLend in 2020. And I really just wanted to bring a group of women together. I was surrounded by a lot of women in business communities at the time as well. And a lot of the connections that I'd built were with other women business owners. So I really just wanted to take it as an opportunity to celebrate that and share with everyone. So I brought together 40 women, and it wasn't until the week before the actual event that I met Joe, who runs Just Peoples and runs a charity organization there. I sort of had this moment of thinking, maybe this could be more than just a networking day and we could actually form it as part of a charity. So that's where it all started. And since then, from raising $2,500 in the first event, we raised $28,000 at our most recent event in February 2025. So the event last week. So we've actually just ticked over $100,000 in 5 years, which is super exciting.
That's incredible, Evelyn. And I know that you actually went back, because I know you fund some projects overseas, and you actually didn't do an event last year. And your initiative was you actually went back to overseas and you visited those projects that you funded. Can you just tell us a little bit more about how you went back and the impact that you actually physically saw yourself?
That was such an amazing experience. It was also a very confronting experience as well for a few reasons. We'd funded 3 years worth of projects up until that point. And one of them in particular, we had an opportunity to go and meet the project leader in Bangladesh that we'd supported. And I think this was a project that we all felt really connected to, and that was to support and build 8 toilet blocks and shower facilities in a slum community in Bangladesh for people that, I guess up until me actually visiting it, I just wasn't aware of how stark a difference it is between what we have versus what they were experiencing in the slum. Not only do they not have toilets, they don't have roads, they barely even have doors on their homes. Like, it's just the difference in terms of what we experience here and what we take for granted is such a wide gap. And heading back to Bangladesh and seeing that was really powerful, because the lady that we met that actually headed up that initiative, she took us into the community and we met a whole lot of the women that were responsible for and had been part of actually building the toilet facilities. And we're also now community leaders in the slums. But I think also like the privacy that we are able to experience and the dignity that we have, like from a women sexual health perspective, they also don't receive. And it can be quite dangerous for a lot of young women there as well. So we went into the slum community. We not only met the project leaders, but we also met these women who are now community leaders who get to look after the facilities, and they're really proud of what they have. One lady in particular that we met, she sort of had this epiphany from seeing these toilets and showers being built, where she connected that if they could all of a sudden have a lockable toilet, then maybe they could have clean running water. And if they could have clean running water, then maybe they could start looking at roads, which means maybe they could have doors. And like, it just had this flow on effect for all of these things that she never even conceptualized were possible prior to. But then after seeing just one thing being changed and them all being so proud of it and them seeing the impact that it had on their local community, she now wants to do so much more for her community. And I think like going into Bangladesh, that was the thing that I wasn't expecting to walk away with, was being able to see how these people's mindsets were changed when they realized what can actually impact them and what they can have access to. And I have no doubt that that girl will now go on to lead multiple initiatives because she now knows everything that's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's phenomenal, all the work and you've been able to, support and help with to them now really growing into that community and supporting other women in their community. So look, really proud of you and all the work that you were doing there. So what was the moment that made you realise you were on the right path, whether it was with the International Women's Day or with your business? Was there any sort of defining moment that you can sort of place and think, yeah, I'm going to do this differently?
Yeah, really good question. I probably had a little moment like that recently, actually, when I was reflecting on International Women's Day last year and reflecting on, the experience in Bangladesh. The moment for me there was probably more so around when we did come back from Bangladesh, I also had this experience of thinking like, there is just so much that this world needs. How can my small efforts actually make an impact? But then also trying to flip that and go, no, if everyone thought that way, nothing would ever change. Therefore, we have to stand up for what we think is right. And we have to start showing that things are achievable and that you can come together as a collective to achieve more. So I think there was definitely a small moment there, just even recently upon reflection. The other thing that I've also found is that I don't think that our business is purely just about a mortgage broking business. I think you would see this too, Suzi, but there are a lot of really successful women business owners in loan market, for example. They also give inspiration to other women business owners coming through. So I don't think like just looking at a business for what it does and what it serves its customers actually encompasses everything that the business stands for. And one of the things that I've always wanted our business to stand for is education, both from a financial perspective locally in terms of the communities and the people that we help, but also knowing that we can empower people globally in financial education as well. So I've always really tried to use our business as a means to spread that message as much as actually serving the customers. So I think that for me really was probably in launching EverLend, where I was like, no, I can do this. And that was back in 2020, but you continue to receive along the way a little messages that show you that you are on the right track. So I don't think there was a defining moment there, but I think I just always knew it in the background that we were on the right track.
Yeah, I totally agree. Seeing so many successful female-led business owners within the loan market group, absolutely proud. It's because I know that not only are you serving your customer, but I think you're also serving your community, both locally and internationally. And that's really a big difference. And that's why I'm really passionate about attracting more females to the mortgage broking industry as well, because we know the impact that women do have in people's lives, both financially and emotionally. So I totally agree with that. So I know we did a webinar yesterday with some of our powerhouses for International Women's Day, and there were some really great takeouts from that as well. So I really want anyone has the opportunity to have a listen to that as well. That would be fantastic. So how do you actually balance growing a successful business while also making time for causes that matter to you?
It's tough. I think as the event has grown, the International Women's Day event, as that has grown, I think in the past I probably underestimated the amount of time that it actually took out of business. And you do need to think about that, because at the end of the day, we are still running a business and there is going to be a financial limitation to what you can do from a business perspective if you are taking time out of actually serving customers. There is sort of a time commitment that you do need to put into it. But I think just the impact that the event has, like, that's something I've always been willing to sacrifice. At the same time, especially the weeks leading up to the event, I will be working around the clock to ensure that the event runs as smoothly as it does, but also continue to support our customers. And it's just about prepping and planning early enough and knowing what you're getting yourself into, like having the right support around us, both in the business itself, but also getting event partners on board and all of that sort of thing early. The earlier you can do it, the better. We actually started planning and prepping for International Women's Day, which we held in Feb in August last year. So it took us like 6 months to actually plan this event. So you can't underestimate the amount of time involved in putting that together, but having the right support around you is absolutely critical. And then knowing as well, and I think a lot of business owners know this, but knowing that sometimes you just have to make sacrifices and you just have to do what it takes to make it work.
Absolutely. We totally understand the timeframes that go into planning an event and making it successful as well. So I know you've got a really strong team behind you that support you in that as well. So congratulations and well done. It really was a phenomenal afternoon last Friday. What are some of the biggest shifts you've seen in the industry when it comes to women in broking, Ev?
Starting in the industry, I was lucky enough that I started with a female broker. It was her business. She'd come out of corporate banking and she already had a lot of connections to women business owners and female brokers anyway. So from the very initial stages when I did step into the industry, I was surrounded by really powerful women and really successful women. And I think that was just such a great starting point for me. In terms of, I guess, some of the differences and changes that I've seen, there definitely are a lot more younger women coming through, and I absolutely love that. And to the point now where I see a lot of the younger brokers come through, and I don't feel like the young female broker anymore, which is a bit of a change, because at the beginning I certainly felt that way. But it's really great seeing what they're doing coming through and how they're starting to provide education to customers in different ways as well. I think it's really, really important to be aware of how the industry shifts in terms of what's important to customers and how people are delivering their education and how they're showing up on social media and all of that sort of thing. And I think a lot of the young women mortgage brokers that have started recently are doing that really, really well. That's definitely a big change that I've seen. And I support that. And I think that the more, the better, because they're not only supporting their customers, but they're supporting the industry to show how much brokers mean and how much brokers can provide to customers, even if those customers don't become their customers exactly.
Absolutely. I think, I've really noticed that following some young ladies. I think the confidence and the social media and the TikTok and the education piece and what they're doing is really phenomenal. And can I just say that you still are young, Ev? Absolutely. You just got in a lot earlier than a lot of the other ladies as well. So, and I know you do a lot of podcasts and a lot of lives and really educating your client and demographic. Can I ask, is your demographic mainly made of females, males? Is there a good mix? Is it young couples coming into the market? How would you segment your customer base?
The majority of our customers are definitely younger customers. I would say sort of under 40. It's interesting because when I started the business, we had a lot of connections with financial planners, and that was kind of the way that I initially grew the business. It wasn't friends and family buying. As a result of that, we had a lot of really older clients that were doing self-managed super fund loans, or they had 4 or 5 investment properties and they were nearing retirement. So we had this sort of older demographic. But then as I've gotten older and my friends and family have started buying as well, we have had a lot of younger clients come through and a lot of first home buyers. And I do find that the first home buyers are the ones that refer the most to their friends and family as well. So probably over the last 3 to 4 years, it's shifted to be first home buyers and younger families being the majority of the clients that we work with. We definitely do still get a lot of single people purchasing as well, and a lot of females. Definitely, I find that the younger single females really like working with female mortgage brokers as well. I think they just feel really confident and comfortable talking to us. Definitely the majority now, I would say over 60% of our customers would be sort of under 40.
So what advice would you give to brokers who want to step up and create impact in their own way? What are some of the small actions they could potentially take?
Yeah, I think just getting really clear on what they actually want to do. I mean, I say that, but I actually didn't even know what I wanted to do or how I wanted the charity event to evolve when I started it. But if you know that you want to have an impact in some way, you have to take that step and you have to do something about it, because it doesn't have to be perfect to begin with. But if you don't start, then you're never actually going to create that impact, and it will evolve. And you might learn things from the first initiative that you try. It might even just take you, if you want to look at, charity as a method of impact, you might just want to start off by looking at, can you volunteer your time somewhere? Can you learn more about other charities before you do something yourself? It can start small, but you have to start with a step. And then from there, you can have it evolve and flesh out what you really want to do and how you want it to look in the long term.
Thanks, Ev. Are you planning to head to Kenya to see how your project works and how you're impacting the women over there in Kenya with your new project?
Yeah, I actually am. So I spoke with Joe last year when we were looking at deciding on the project that we wanted to support. We chose 2 projects, one in Kenya and one in Malawi. On Friday, we fully funded the Kenya project. So it required $28,500 to fund, and we hit that exactly, which is amazing. And she had actually already scheduled a visit to Kenya in July. I said to her, Joe, if we hit the fundraising target, I'm coming. And so I'm going to Kenya in July, and I'm super excited to be able to meet the project leaders over there and see that firsthand. We didn't quite achieve the second project. So the second project is like a scalable initiative where we can help one mother and their baby, and the cost of that is effectively $245 per person impacted. What we've decided as a business is every month we're going to donate towards one mother and their baby. So we'll donate $245 as a business every month for this year. And then we would have helped at least 10 mothers by the end of the year. And I'll be heading to Malawi in July to visit them as well.
Well, it'd be great if you could share your link and we can share it with all the leading ladies in our community as well.
Yeah.
So how can the industry as a whole do better to support brokers, especially women who are looking to lead change?
I've got to say that I think that Loan Market as an aggregator is just so supportive of everything that we do, whether it be in the actual broking world or whether it be a charity initiative. Loan Market sponsored our event for the last 3 years and been a part of it for longer than that as well. The support that Loan Market provide as an aggregator, if you're wanting more people to do what we do, or there are brokers that are really passionate about what they're doing, the aggregation support is without a doubt one of the most impactful things that can assist people for sure, and giving them a platform to be able to share their message through. But I think outside of that, it probably just comes down to the individual really being comfortable in reaching out to people that they can ask for support from as well. I'm not really sure what more could be done because I've always felt super supported, but I think I've always asked for that support as well. And I think Loan Market have always been very forthcoming in that. I know that Loan Market also just launched their own foundation project,
the Share Tomorrow Foundation. So we've launched that this week. So we're pretty excited. That's been a couple of years in work in progress, being able to align ourselves with the right organisations and charities. So we're pretty proud. We'll be launching a lot of initiatives and areas that we as corporate team and certainly our LM brokers as well can support in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that in itself is showing firsthand to the brokers what can be achieved. Like Loan Market is sort of then paving the way for, you don't just have to be a business. What else can you do if you are passionate about something in changing people's lives and showing people specifically providing that inspiration? So all of those things are really beneficial for people wanting to make change.
Thank you so much for being on. At Broker Bulletin, we're all about finding those 1% improvements that lead to big wins. Evelyn, what's one small thing you do every day that has the biggest impact on the business?
The one thing that I would say it has, for me, it's a personal thing, but it impacts the business, is I have to do some sort of, I really try to look after my health and wellness. So whether that be meal prepping my meals for the week, or making sure that I always get outside every day, or I go to the gym every morning, or whatever it might be, but it has to be something health related, because if I don't do that, I do not show up the best in my business, and I have so much more energy when I do prioritize those things. So hands down, that's a staple for me.
To wrap up, I guess my biggest takeaway for today's conversation is all those small incremental steps that you've done, from working within your business as well to starting out and starting EverLend as well. I think that's been fantastic. And I think seeing your transition to becoming a successful business owner, I think leading the way for females in the broking space as well, with your team, with your community, both here locally and international, has really been an inspiration for me and many of the ladies, not only in the industry, but certainly within the loan market family as well. So thanks so much for taking the time to chat today, Evelyn. I know you're really super busy off the back of your International Women's Day. So we really appreciate it, and we look forward to hearing more about all the projects that are funding and how they're going, and how all the women are being supported over there, particularly the Kenya project now. So just wanted to say thank you. Keep up the great work, and we look forward to all the new initiatives that you take place, and look forward to supporting you within the loan market family as well. So just wanted to say thank you, and thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. And I really appreciate all your support.
Thanks for tuning in to Broker Bulletin. We would hate for you to miss an episode. Subscribe to Broker Bulletin in your favourite podcast app. Has this episode been helpful? We'd love you to rate and review us. It'll help us deliver content that's useful to you and help others discover us. If you have great ideas for topics worth tackling, or have burning questions you'd like addressed on an upcoming episode, reach out. Links in the show notes. See you next time.